understanding that it's not all about me and understanding, okay, I can wait. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Rest and the Run podcast. I am your host, Charlette Emilia, and I'm really excited to be back with you again today. We're going to be talking about discipleship and particularly my discipleship. Hopefully, maybe this might help you. I don't know, but either way, let's get into it. So, when I started my walk, there were certain things that I knew were non-negotiables about this time around. I wanted to ensure that I was reading more. I wanted to ensure that I had a stronger prayer life, and I wanted to ensure that I had proper leadership and a good church home. There were certain things that were missing, like certain aspects that were missing from my spirituality and from my walk with God in previous experiences. And I knew that when I did this, I wanted to do this the right way. So I did work on praying and reading on my own. But I also, I talked to God. I said, I want to find a church home. I want to be able to find a spot that feels comfortable. And I did experience different churches prior to finding this church home, but I also was not in the mood to do this whole like jumping from place to place to place. I've already experienced a plethora of churches. I've been to Pentecostal, Baptist, um, non-denominational, Catholic, Methodist. I think the only one that I haven't been to is, Anglican. I think that's, like, the only one that I haven't been to, but throughout my life, I've been to so many different types of churches that I really and truly didn't have the patience to sit down and discover, all this kinda stuff. So this was something that I talked to the Lord about. I'm like, "Listen, I don't wanna go through this anymore. I already experienced so much church hurt in different spaces. I don't want to do this. I want to find a place." And he delivered. He delivered. Now in finding that church home, I felt comfortable. I felt like, leadership was there. Is biblical teaching, sound biblical teaching. And I feel like it it's where I want to be, you know? And so in finding that church home, now again, discipleship is a thing. I'm still young in my walk, even though I've been doing this for a year. I'm still young in my walk. I'm still learning a lot of things. My theology isn't like rock solid in the sense of like, oh, ask me what verse is. Da, 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 da. I just know that I read my Bible, I try my best, and I do what I can. But I also understand that I need leadership because there was a lot of lack of leadership in my previous walks. And like, I need that accountability. And I knew that I needed to be discipled. And there were certain times when I felt like I really need help and I need guidance, but I also don't want to, I don't want to like force myself onto somebody, especially when, in this day and age, oftentimes we don't have pastors that are specifically dedicated to just the church. Sometimes they have jobs. They're not always able to really like, devote themselves to every single thing that's going on in your life. And that was also one of the things that I had to come to terms with. Understanding that it's not all about me and understanding, okay, I can wait. I can wait. I can wait. And genuinely understanding that I can wait and not um kind of like veering toward like, oh well, you don't care about me, you don't check for me, da da da. Everybody has a life. Everybody is busy. And these are people who are responsible for your spiritual life, especially when your pastor is more than just a pastor, they're an employee somewhere, all this kind of stuff. You won't always be able to have full access to them. And you have to be understanding. You have to give them that grace because the type of grace that God has given you, you can afford them a little bit. However, I did start to feel at some point where I was kind of like, drifting a little bit. I ended up having to take these classes where, like the baptismal classes, it was supposed to last like maybe, I don't know, like a few weeks, but it actually lasted much longer for me because I wasn't able to really lock into the schedule. I think it lasted something like a year almost. And I wasn't in a big rush because I'd already been baptized twice before. And so I kind of just used those classes to kind of like really sit with it and really like use this as kind of like a more focused Bible study. It kind of also created a space for discipleship where I would not have been able to have that opportunity to, have that one-on-one with a pastor if this wasn't the case. So really like, using this time to very much like to be enthusiastic about study and about having that communication. Also, being as honest as I possibly can. I can be going through the worst of everything and you wouldn't know because I'm very good at hiding. And another thing that I had to do was I had to be honest. I had to stop hiding. I had to stop. There are times when I just want to say I'm fine and just not having to, expose my feelings and all this kind of stuff. But I found myself having to avoid saying I'm fine and being honest about how I was feeling. And in that, like sometimes even feeling like, hey, I feel like you're neglecting me a little bit. Being honest about that, but being honest about it to them, directly to them. I have the type of leadership in my church where I can talk to them and I can be open about it and they tend to receive it really well and we can have a discourse about it. Especially if you and just being respectful about it. Sometimes I can feel like like I need a little bit of extra attention. After I'd finished my baptismal classes, I was kind of worried because I thought, I don't have this access anymore and I feel like I'm still like I still need that guidance, you know? And I ended up be finding a job via my pastor and she was another one. It's like it's almost kind of like I'm learning so many different things from the different pastors. It's like four of them in my church. But now I'm in a different space where I'm working alongside another pastor, and it's been kind of like the Lord put me there as a means for me to be able to be discipled in a different way and to be able to have like, these one-on-one talks, but also be of service to them. So it's kind of like a nice, healthy space to be in. And I'm not gonna be there forever, but it's also, given me access to be able to have a deeper level of discipleship through being able to have access to that person. So it was like I and this was not something that I even, told the Lord about. I just knew that I wanted discipleship and he put me in a space where one, I have a job, but then I'm also in that job with that person and being able to have access to them. And I don't know what's going to happen further down the line, but I do know that this is one of the better experiences that I've been having in my discipleship walk. There's been a lot of being honest with myself, allowing the Lord to work on me, but also being open to being discipled. Because oftentimes we're like, yeah, I don't want this and da, 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 and we're trying to fight. I don't have time to fight. I need the help. And I understand I need the help. And if I'm constantly fighting against them, I'm fighting against myself, I'm fighting against God. Being open to being discipled is one of the bigger parts of it. I don't always want to have to be accountable for things. I don't always want to talk about things. Sometimes I would like to just disassociate and just not engage, not tell anybody what's going on and just be like, I'm fine. But sometimes God tells you business for you. That's happened to me before. But it's a lot less scary when you're in a safe environment, when you're in a safe church home. So you kind of it's less like they're calling you out and more like, "Hey, what are you doing? What's going on? Like, let's talk about this." And for me, like that helps when I'm in a place where I have to also like reciprocate and I have to, to share this information. It's a really interesting feeling. But again, being discipled means you have to be willing to succumb to the leadership. It's not always easy, but it is gonna be worth it in the long run. I feel like I'm already growing in a healthier direction as it is, and I'm actually really I'm excited to see where it's gonna take me, you know? In any case, guys, thank you so much for keeping it locked. I've really appreciated your attention, and I will see you in the next one. Remember to like, share, subscribe, share your story with me. Reach out to me on socials. They're all linked in the comment section. So feel free. I'll see you in the next one.